1. Obligatory, this happened a couple of years ago. I work in theatre on a cruise ship currently, and was setting up an event that involved the backdrop being bungeed to some upright scaffolding. Nothing unusual here, it happens regularly without incident. I'm happily in my routine with my mind wandering off elsewhere, when something comes flying past my face. For a split second, I think nothing of it. I obviously didn't fully hook one of the bungees to backdrop correctly. Oh well, I'll just pull it back across. I rub some sweat off my forehead and reach for the bungee, when I notice that my hand is a little red. That's weird. I don't normally carry a red pen around with me, but it's probably exploded in my pocket. After a second or two of slight confusion at my ink-stained hand, I feel something warm pouring down my face. I use the window next to me to look at my reflection, sure enough. My red pen had exploded by my eye and was now pouring down my face and dripping onto the floor. I grasp my eye and proceed to my nearest co-worker, who takes a glance at me, and all of a sudden, chaos ensues. I have a towel thrust in my face. He is on the phone to medical, my boss is in a mild panic on comms, and I am being rushed through the room where our performers are waiting. They all shriek and back the hell away from this technician being rushed through with a red towel. Fun fact, it started out as life white, clasped to his face, barely stemming the flow. I get to medical and I sort of just yield to them. Honestly, my mind was still elsewhere, as if this was a dream. I have water being poured over my face, gauze being pressed into my eye, and people generally busying themselves with this slightly out-of-it technician. I start to focus when I saw a needle and syringe out of the eye that wasn't being assaulted with what felt like a never-ending torrent of water. Now, I don't have a phobia of needles per se. However, I have been caused quite a lot of pain and humiliation by another doctor tearing a chunk out of my shoulder and accidentally puncturing the main vein coming from my right arm. I'd rather just avoid them at all costs. Before I could even speak, I was stabbed in the face with this needle and yelped like a small dog. Not my proudest moment in life, I assure you, with a needle and thread then being pulled through my skin what seemed like seconds later. 45 minutes later, I walk out of medical with 5 stitches from the corner of my eye up through my eyebrow. Thankfully, my vision was intact, but had to wear an eye patch for a few days, which wasn't embarrassing at all. 1 centimeter lower, and I would have lost my eye, or at least all sight from it. 2. This happened today. Mine is about 10 years. I was fortunate enough to go to college in Hawaii. One evening not long before sunset, a couple of buddies and me were driving around and ended up at one of our favorite beaches. We decided to swim around for a bit to end the day, and I noticed the beach was completely deserted. Me being me, I took that opportunity to swim in my cake day suit and left my swim trunks on the beach with my car keys in the pocket. After about 30 minutes of fooling around, I went back to fetch my shorts and keys, which, of course, were nowhere to be found, as the tide had risen and swept them away. My friends were highly annoyed at this turn of events, especially because they had surfboards in the car and were afraid it would be broken into and their boards stolen. One of my buddies was even talking about breaking a window to get his stuff. We argued on the sand for a time, me standing there naked. Our conversation was cut short, however, as a security guard drove up to lock the beach parking lot for the night. I made the flash decision that I was in no position to speak to him, and took off running back into the ocean to lay low. It was dark enough by that time that he couldn't see me. My friends explained that the keys to the car had been lost, and the guard eventually left, albeit annoyed. By the time I decided it was clear to come back to shore, however, I discovered that my friends had also left. In my mind, they had just decided to let me fend for myself while they walked back to campus. So there I stood, in the most vulnerable moment of my life, completely bare, utterly alone, in the dark with a busy highway and nearly a mile walk separating me from my dorm. Suddenly an image flashed in my mind. I remembered coming across a ratty t-shirt up on the cliffs adjacent to the beach a previous time I had gone there. I clambered up the rocks, and sure enough, the shirt was there. It was worse than I remembered, covered in moldy residue. I would later suffer from a significant groinal rash for several months. But at least it was something. I wrapped the rag around myself like a loincloth and started home. For a few hundred yards, there was simply no way to avoid the busy highway. I walked along it, receiving several honks from cars passing by. Eventually, I was able to take a side trail into the jungle and jump a back fence to my dorm building, only passing a few shocked classmates before I was finally back to my room. My friends later claimed they left to go get help, but I'm still not sure I buy that. One of them did get AAA to come jimmy my car open. I only had one set of keys, so my friends could get their precious surfboards. I decided to sleep in my car to make sure it didn't get broken into, and wake up early to search for my shorts and keys with a snorkel. The next morning, to my joy, I found my shorts washed back up on the shore, the pocket entirely full of sand. For possibly the only time in my life, I had attached the keychain to the little elastic loop on the shorts, and miraculously my keys were still attached. I drove home, officially putting an end to my skinny dipping saga. 3. Saturday morning, I woke up fairly early after a bad night's sleep. We had a couple of friends coming over in the evening, so I knew I'd be falling asleep early with how little sleep I'd had. I decided to get up and go to the gym to tire myself out and maybe get some more sleep. Not sure if it was the lack of rest, but I felt a little nauseous, so didn't eat anything before going. Got to the gym about 8 AM. Now I need to say here that I'm just getting back to the gym after a couple of knee injuries, so it's very slow going at the minute. Building up an extra 5 to 10 minutes, but still only at 45 minutes max per session. Wanting to tire myself out, I kept going way past 45, eventually finishing after 90 minutes cardio. I drank plenty of water throughout, and there was a lot of sweat going on. Grabbed my bag and started to walk home, which was a very slow trip. Got back to my flat. My girlfriend was still in bed, so I had a shower and lay on the sofa in the sitting room to try to sleep. Now was the time I really started to notice that I was feeling more than just tired. I had zero strength or energy and felt sick as fuck. I couldn't sleep and was quite spaced out. Just before 11 AM, I woke my girlfriend, as we had a property viewing to attend. We drove to the viewing and then onto a supermarket to get some bits for the evening. Whilst there, my girlfriend pointed out that they'd opened a sushi bar, so we got some sushi for lunch. Sounds like a boring, somewhat middle-class fact, but stick with me. We drive home and my girlfriend has an appointment. Eyelash extensions, huh? So we whiffed down the sushi and she left. At this point, I'm still feeling dreadful. I assumed I'd just massively overdone it and exhausted myself, but I went to bed and still felt the same. I remembered a triathlon and a marathon running mate telling me about bonking a few years back. I messaged my mates on our WhatsApp group, asking if they knew anything about recovering from bonking. A few of them are long-distance cyclists, and one of them fired back that I needed to eat jelly babies or a Mars bar and get some fluids in. I messaged my girlfriend and she duly returned with a sack of jelly babies, and I scarfed a few down. I had half a banana and some water, and 30 minutes later, started to feel a bit better. It was then that I started to weird my girlfriend out. I asked her why we only got sushi at the supermarket, and if we'd viewed the flat. My only memory was of her pointing out the sushi counter. Nothing about any of the 3 car journeys, a bit about the flat after she'd reminded me, but nothing other than that. Things improved throughout the day, but still not great. Our friends arrived and we went for a stroll along the Thames to a riverside pub in Twickenham. From there we headed home and had dinner and drinks at ours. Food didn't go too well, but I put it down to the after effects of earlier. Woke up Sunday and had a very lazy sofa day watching catch-up TV and films, but I didn't feel hungry all day and so didn't eat. Monday morning rolled around at 6:20 AM, and apologies for the graphics, but I spent a fair while on the loo with a couple of explosive situations. Couldn't face any breakfast but gave lunch a go, which didn't sit too well. Couldn't face an evening meal and got an early night. Tuesday morning was my birthday. Woke feeling like death, more explosions, showered and opened presents from my girlfriend. Drove to work, still not feeling great. Still no food, just water. I took in some treats for the team and got bought a cake and a beer by one of my amazing colleagues. Felt rough all morning, few trips to the loo throughout, and then my boss brought some soup from our staff restaurant to eat at his desk. The smell hit me and I ran, way too strong for my stomach. I left early and went home and slept. My girlfriend came home, but I'd already told her I wouldn't be able to go out to celebrate. Around 9 p.m, I felt a bit more settled and managed to get some Marmite on dry bread. I think I'm over it now. 4. So basically this was the second day of our holiday in Greece. We were staying at this hotel with this blocky architecture and white painted walls. The entrance was opposite this other building with a patterned green fence, the building where it happened. Anyway, this day we decided we were going to go out to the town, which was such a lovely day, and I loved the walk especially during this time of my life. I was living a healthy lifestyle, so walking a far distance and just enjoying myself for about 4 hours. This is when we had to get back because my little brother was tired and wanted to get back to go in the pool. Which, I couldn't blame him, it was boiling out and I wanted to go for a swim. We get back to the entrance. This is when my mom's partner decided, oh, I'm going to check out this building opposite, thinking it's a golf course. So I decided to follow him because I have no clue. I'm the most introverted person. Anyway, we walk past this fence, which is open by the way. Very fucking wide, so yeah, we thought it was open. Anyway, we get inside and man, this was some abandoned shit. Some Jurassic Park shit with broken glass and greenery growing everywhere. Reminded me of Last of Us, so it was kinda cool seeing nature fight back. My mom's partner went further into a stairway. He stepped onto the stairs and this is when it happened. A dog just hops up from behind a bush and just bolts for me. I just froze in place like, well, this is it, I'm fucked. It gets to me, jumps up my leg, then nips me. I cannot remember any pain or pressure, just it reaching me then sprinting back for my mom's partner. This is when I fucking ran outside and just stopped in front of the entrance in a lot of pain and shaking. So I had to check. I unzipped my shorts and looked, blood everywhere, and a tear down the seam of my balls. I fully regretted everything and was shit scared that I was gonna lose my testicles. This is when I clocked on, I need to get help for me and my mom's boyfriend. I ran to the hotel and started shouting at the desk, begging them for help saying, I got bit, and someone is still in there. As they were more concerned in why the fuck we were in there, this is when my mom's boyfriend casually walked in with his backpack, and there's me ball busted in pain. Well, by the way, couldn't go in the pool for a week, nor could I drink because antibiotics. Good guy and my mom's boyfriend paid for my holiday. Edit. Well, after all this happened, the manager came out and was like, fuck, and got his car, drove me to the hospital, which took about 15 minutes to get to. Now this hospital looked like a piece of shit. It looked like a war hospital. Luckily for me, my mom was like, fuck no, so the manager took us to a private hospital. Now this hospital was clean but still looked sorta dodgy to me, but that was just my paranoia going through my head, especially after trespassing. So I go in and they just casually walk me down to this room. A doctor and a nurse walks in. Now this doctor is speaking broken English, starts cracking jokes about the situation, and I'm just like, fuck, please don't. The nurse was just sitting awkwardly as I had to pull down my shorts. This was not my proudest moment, as my dick was the shyest it's ever been, and there's just blood. The doctor wipes it away, does his business, then leaves me in there waiting with the nurse. I got super awkward and tried small talk. How long have you been a nurse? It was so horrible. 5. I start by saying, girls, don't do what I just did. Secondly, I'm not a native English speaker, so I'll try my best. I'm a small girl on average. I consider myself big, but I like to do sports and be athletic. However, nature didn't help me with the size of my breasts. I always use any kind of tricks I can to make my boobs look bigger. From push-up bras to other things. Like, for example, what I just did. I visited France for the first time. It was the first time I was flying, so I had no idea how things work in an airport. Everything went okay when I travelled from my country to France, but the fuck up happened on my way back. Why? The first time I was wearing sport equipment and I was casually dressed with no add-ons. On my way back, before going to the airport, we had a nice night, dinner with friends, so my outfit was more elegant. Of course, I'm stupid. I had to make my boobs look big. I usually wear some silicone push-ups, but I had forgotten them at home, so I had to improvise. What does smart me think? Sugar bags would work fine, of course. There were some sugar bags I found in the supermarket there, about 500 grams each. I bought 2, one for each breast. They lift up my breasts perfectly, and also they made my breasts look so much bigger and sexy in my dress. Yes, you can laugh and judge me all you want. This was an incredibly stupid idea. So all's good, we arrive at the gate checkpoint on our way back. There were some special gates that could see right through you. You open your arms and stay right in front of a panel that scans you. Maybe a lot of you know what I'm talking about. I was chill, a bit in pain from my high heels, but it was okay. I go there to get scanned. In a few seconds, the person who looked at that screen stopped everything and stared more at the screen. My checkup started to take more time than the others. That person goes to another guy. They both looked at me and at the screen. I started to get tense and scared because I didn't know what was wrong with me. They asked me to step aside and not move. Everyone was staring at me. One dude guarded me and started to ask me questions while the other person left a bit. I got asked things like, where am I going? Why was I in France? What did I do there, etc. But also things like if I am under pressure, as in kidnapped. I kept asking them if something is wrong because I was clean. I couldn't finish my sentence because I was surrounded by officers now. A few officers came with a dog, a damn dog, and started to yell at me not to move. My friends were looking at me weirdly and scared, and the whole airport stared at me like I was some kind of drug prostitute. I got told to remove the drugs myself or there will be more consequences. Of course I was like, what the fuck, what drugs? They didn't ask me twice. They threatened me and one guy held my hands while a woman searched for the drugs in my bra. They removed the bags, asked me, what is this? Everyone now looked shocked, as in, wow, that girl had drugs here. Even my friends were shocked. It was really embarrassing and stupid for me to explain that it was sugar. I tell them it is sugar, and to check it. They didn't believe me at first and wanted to arrest me now, and ask questions later. I just started to cry and swear there is sugar. I get asked, why would it be sugar? So I'm forced to yell out loud in the airport while everyone was watching that I used the bags of sugar as a last resort to make my breasts look bigger in a dress. Some started to laugh. Some didn't believe me. They took me into a room to check my story. It proved it was sugar, yay me. I still got a ticket after all this, but they let me go. Fortunately, everything lasted about 30 minutes, and I was there early, so I didn't miss my plane. But the flight was horrible, and everyone was talking about the girl who had drugs. What I learned from here: I'm stupid. Never use anything to make your boobs look bigger, especially not fucking sugar. I'm not going back to France again. Fuck me. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Embarrassing Stories, episode 72. Thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. We almost didn't have a video today. I was having a hell of a time getting the stories for it, but it all worked out in the end. Had actually recorded what will now be tomorrow's video. It's a retail video. I was going to do that today, but I woke up today and I had enough stories to be going on with, so that worked out well in the end, I think. Also means I can get tomorrow's video done early since all the audio is recorded and edited for it, so yay. Hope everybody has a nice weekend, whatever you may be up to. I'm going to be basically playing games. I'm trying to wait for Steam sales before I buy any more games to test out this headset I got, but I think I might crack and I might get one of them just to play about with. There's plenty of free things you can try out there, and you do get a Viveport subscription that comes with it, but I'll be honest with you, the games on there aren't really up to much. You try them out and then you're bored within 5 minutes. But that's just my personal experience. That doesn't mean everyone will feel the same. It depends on what you're into. I'm really hoping for a good Sherlock Holmes game to come along at some point. Or if I could even find a way, or if somebody would do like Frogwares would do a port of one of their existing Sherlock Holmes games, so that I could play it in virtual reality, that would be awesome. But, well, we'll see. I also still need to find a new pair of headphones, because I really, really need a good pair of headphones for working with, and I just can't find ones. Well, I found ones I liked, but not ones I'm willing to pay the price for, because they're ridiculously expensive, so that's never going to happen. Right now, the ones I've got are being held together with duct tape, which is kind of doing the job. They're not 100% as good as they were, but it's holding them together at least. I'm sure I'll find something I like soon. Okay, and with that, I think I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.